Hello fellow mutants, welcome back to another video, and in this video we're going to talk about how I saw this article on geeksandgamers.com saying how The Flash could have been better. I've seen the movie. It's not the best movie I've seen, nor is it the worst movie I've seen. There are parts where I enjoyed, and parts where I think it could have improved. Now everybody and their mothers has been saying the CGI could have been better. That, I have to say, I'm in agreement. There are parts where the CGI could have been better. And it's sad to say, but like, the Arrowverse being the DC TV's the DC like the CW's version of the DCEU, being commonly known as the Arrowverse, had, I feel like, a bit better CGI than this movie had at times. And it's sad too, because like, the Arrowverse is a TV show series, so their budget ain't not as high as the movie, but I think the actors did pretty good. Just like the CGI could have been better, and it would have been nice, like maybe like one of those times when like Barry is like running through the Speed Force, and we get to see like that scene we saw in Crisis on Infinite Earths, right? The crossover where Grant Gustin and Ezra Miller's Flashes met. It would have been cool to see like at least like a 2-second bit of that in the movie as a little cameo. Like, yeah, Grant Gustin may not have made a physical appearance, but here we go for anyone of you guys who like loved Grant Gustin or like had a scene of Grant Gustin's Flash being here, and maybe John Wesley Ships, I think is his name, who was Barry Allen in the '90s TV show, who came back to be Henry Allen, or like that version of Barry, and Jay Garrick Flash in the Flash movie or show. It would have been great to see also that Flash getting a little nod. So I don't know. I would have like. Yeah, my version of Flashpoint, with the cards that we were dealt with, would have been a tad bit different. Again, with the cards that we've been dealt with. If it was up to me, the direction would have been somewhat different for this version of Flashpoint. Anyways, let's get into this. The Flash has been out for over a week now, and since it's dropped 73% from its opening weekend, it's safe to say the movie is not resonating. I didn't like it, although I loved parts of it, and I think it collapsed under its own weight. But did it have to be this way? Was the structure of the Flash salvageable with some changes to the story? I think so. There's a good movie buried under this disaster, and I think I've found the roadmap to it. So there's a few ways The Flash could have been a much better movie. I'm not including some obvious things like recasting Barry Allen, preferably with Grant Gustin if he was amenable, but really almost anyone would have been better, or making the special effects look good. Again, everybody's been talking about the CGI special effects. Now, I don't think, like, seriously, like, Grant Gustin, I feel like he would have, like, did phenomenal as Barry Allen, but I don't think Grant Gustin could have made this Flash movie better, per se. There would still be an issue of writing. Because if Grant Gustin still played as Barry Allen, sure, people would see it, sure, but the people will still be shitty on the story. So, like, all due respect to this person and the guy and Grant Gustin, I don't think Grant Gustin could have made the story any better. I believe it comes down to the writing, and yeah, the special effects too. Now, would it be cool to have Grant Gustin be in this movie? You mean as a cameo? Yes, I would be up for that. But the reason why there isn't a season 10 to The Flash Arrowverse show is because Grant Gustin wants to be a dad to his daughter. So, like, for that reason, I can respect why Grant Gustin didn't come make a cameo at the very least in this film. Even though it will be a welcome sight, for sure, for people like me and everyone who loves the Grant Gustin Flash, sure. But I can understand why Grant Gustin didn't make a cameo, because he wants to be a father to his son. I mean, daughter. Totally understandable. Anyways. Aside from the fact that those are obvious, there isn't much to say about them, but for the record, yes, do those things. The following will be a massive... So, essentially, we will get down into, spoilers at this point. So if you guys don't want any spoilers, don't watch this video moving forward. If you guys have seen the movie or just don't care about spoilers, then thank you for stopping by. Anyways, number 1, how the movie could have been better. Tone down the comedy. Like Marvel's recent movies, The Flash goes way overboard with humor, and it undermines several important things about the film. Take the opening act sequence, for example. This is supposed to be the scene that establishes the Flash as the hero of the movie, a protagonist we can root for and believe in, as he rescues people from a collapsing hospital, including a bunch of falling babies that really look like dolls. It's a great setup, but the execution is a train wreck. The scene should be shocking as we watch innocent babies falling to their deaths. Exciting as the Flash rushes in to save them. Harrowing as it looks like he may not pull it off. Finally, a triumphant hero moment as we see the Flash rescue the babies and their nurse. But the film turns this final moment into a series of awful jokes, complemented by CGI that will make you want to cut your eyes out. Devoid of any danger or excitement, and ending on the disturbing image of Ezra Miller making creepy faces at one of the babies while another rests in a microwave. The scene is now boring and seems like a longer than it is, which is 2.5 hour movie really doesn't need. I have to agree, and I forget which channel I heard this from, but I definitely agree with this. Like, I feel like they saw what the success that the 2 X-Men movies had with those Quicksilver scenes, and wanted to incorporate it in the Flash movie, because Quicksilver is practically the X-Men's version of the Flash. So, like, they saw what, like, the success of those 2 movies had. Like, I believe it was, like, X-Men First Class and X-Men Days of Future Past had with the Quicksilver scenes, and try to replicate in the Flash. And as I can see what they were trying to do, but I have to agree with this person. The execution wasn't that good. So, anyways, let's see the second part to this section about the comedy bit. This also impacts the ending where Barry realizes he must follow his mother to die to prevent the apocalyptic future his rescue created. There's a series of tragedies involved in this. Batman and Supergirl die twice. Well, that we see, but Barry Allen the other Barry Allen tries to keep saving him, and essentially causing Batman and Supergirl to die more than twice. Anyways, Barry realizes he must let his mother die. The other Barry is revealed as the mysterious speedster who's been menacing the main Barry in the Speed Force, trapped in an endless cycle of time travel because he refuses to let go. The younger version of that Barry sacrifices himself to erase his future persona, and finally Barry undoes his rescue of his mother, tearfully hugging her one last time. Theoretically, this is a strong, impactful, sad, thought-provoking movement and of self-sacrifice, and unusual and original outside of the fact that a comic book, TV show, and an animated film has a right on it way of and to end the superhero movie. But it feels wrong and unsatisfying, and that's largely because the movie has been bogged down with so many dopey comedy. The ending works so well in Flashpoint because the story leading to it is dark and has a serious tone. You can't give an audience a light-hearted romp for 2 hours before suddenly sticking a knife in their heart and expect them to accept it. It would also help if the minimal jokes were actually funny. And I gotta agree with them to a certain degree that yes, most of this film has been comedic, I feel like. And that you can tell there was like a massive shift of change from like most of the movie being comedic to like now serious and being all depressing. And like I feel like the Dark Knight trilogy, for example, that I feel like, and you guys are free to disagree with me at any point, of course. But like, I feel like the Dark Knight trilogy had a beautiful blend of seemingly making us feel for the characters, setting the right tone, and as the tone shifts, it didn't feel like this massive 360 or massive shift. Like the shift definitely feels like smooth. And don't get me wrong, there are a few times in this movie where I feel like the transition was smooth, but like not as much as it should have been. It didn't feel as smooth as it could have been. And so to a certain degree, I do agree with them. Like, yeah, if we had less, like, we took the more serious approach and have like the jokes, like the jokes that we did get told a bit funnier, then that could have helped with the mood change a little bit. Anyways, make Barry more relatable. That somewhat ties into the previous point because humor is a big part of it. Ezra Miller's Barry Allen is so annoying and off-putting that he stops you from being able to sympathize with him. The constant joking is a problem, partially because he doesn't feel like a serious character and partially because the jokes are so bad, and Miller is even worse at delivering them. That is because that becomes a chore to sit through his scenes. Well, let's be real. Before I continue, I know some people mask their pain or mask them like their emotions essentially by comedy, right? So just people who are like that, they can relate to Barry Allen, but people who doesn't relate to that, I can see why they're saying, yeah, this Barry ain't relatable to me. And I totally understand that. This was a true Justice League as well, but he was a smaller part of that movie. In The Flash, he's in almost every scene. And he's constantly trying to be funny, doing wacky stuff like running across a room like a moron before realizing he lost his powers or making stupid faces while he eats. Again, some people does that to like try to like mask their like fear or pain or dark emotions, so they can like get other people to say, "Oh." To me, but that was so funny because I was asking them, "Are you alright?" And sometimes people can do that too hard, where people will ask like anyways. But you guys get my point. Like some people do that purposely to mask their pain or their fear, and I don't know if that's what they were trying to go for with this Barry Allen. So anyways, he was also awkward to a fault, unable to have a normal conversation with anybody. In my review, I contrasted this to Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker. The performance played up Peter's awkwardness too, but it was done in a more believable and relatable way, so that when Peter finally does have an honest conversation with Mary Jane, it feels like he's becoming more confident. And Spider-Man is not what I would call a subtle movie. There's no moment like what Barry like that with Barry, because he's caricature of awkwardness more than a character who is awkward. Finally, he's selfish, deeming his roles in saving people from the hospital as janitorial work, and becoming that frightened disaster victim don't take time out of their dramas to thank him. This isn't a hero, it's a glory hound. Let's be real, some people actually do that. Some people do good deeds for the fame, not exactly for the hero and being hero. So like, I can kind of see where they're coming from, but I also can kind of see the other side too. Strange enough. Anyways, this becomes a bigger problem when the older Barry is introduced, because it keeps the Flash from being able to differentiate between the two versions of its lead characters. The idea is that the new Barry, the one creating the new timeline, is a selfish, immature jerk who doesn't take anything seriously and is so awkward that nobody likes him. At one point, he tells the first Barry that everyone thinks he's annoying. There's a good idea here. This new Barry has never lived with the pain of losing someone he loves and seeing another wrongfully imprisoned, and has never had to grow up knowing the evil and injustice exists in the world. He never had the spark that caused him to want to help others, nor did he have the calling to become a forensic scientist, which led to him getting his superpowers. The Flash created a world without the Flash, and this Barry should embody that. The problem is that he doesn't feel most like different from the first Barry. He's the same annoying, awkward, selfish guy that amped up to a seemingly impossible degree. He's annoying as holy hell, but even still, he is not a whole lot more annoying than the first Barry. So the effect is lost, and the movie is more than excruciating. And then have a feeling. So the trailers for The Flash tease General Zod as the villain, but that's not accurate. He's in the movie for maybe 15 minutes at the end, and he's a nemesis for Supergirl, much more than he is for the Flash. The only character you can kind of call a villain is Barry himself, who screwed up the timeline, creating the multiverse, or revealed it, or fractured it, or whatever the spaghetti metaphor was supposed to mean, and created a new version of himself who became so obsessed of changing the past that he spends an eternity doing it over and over to no effect. But Barry, both versions of him, is more a tragic figure than a villain, not realizing that what he was doing while trying to save his mother, and later avoiding the reality that he has to let her die. He's also in the movie less inside, at least in his darker guise. As a result, there is nothing to fight, no real enemy personifying Barry's struggle against his own basic impulse. I thought Zod would fit that bill, a man who refused to accept his racist demise and was ready to destroy another so that his may survive. But again, Zod is not in the movie for long, and there's no time to draw a parallel between him and Barry, with whom he never saw even interacts. And I kind of noticed that too. I'm kind of just like sad that Zod and Barry never crossed paths. It would have been cool to see what that would have been like. Not saying the whole Kara and Barry, like Kara and Zod interaction towards the end wasn't cool, but I agree with this article that we should have had at least one scene where Barry and Zod talked. And maybe Barry, like, that could have helped Barry to understand that some things are meant to happen, and sadly, that meant, like, Nora Allen's death went to happen. That could have, like, made Barry realize that even more. But, opportunity lost. Flashpoint had a feeling in the Reverse Flash, Barry's arch enemy, who had been pulling the strings from the beginning, manipulating Barry into destroying the world he sworn to protect. It was the Reverse Flash who killed Barry's mother, going back in the time to create the circumstances under which the Flash would have been born. In undoing that, Barry erased his own superhero origin, and he changed those of Superman and Batman, and turned Wonder Woman and Aquaman into wearing despots, destroying humanity with their conflict. It was perfectly done, giving Barry. Wait. Whoa! I skipped. In undoing that, Barry erased his own superhero origin, and he changed those of Superman, Batman, and turned Wonder Woman and Aquaman into wanting despots, destroying humanity with their conflict. It was perfectly done, giving Barry an enemy to fight, and giving the reader a face to put the torment Barry was going through as he struggled with his own happiness and horror so it created. But the movie doesn't have that, so the ending is just a series of downers, from inevitability of Zod's triumph to older Barry's death to Barry allowing his mother to die. Part of this because of the haphazard way DCEU was structured. The Flash had a solo movie before this. Hell, had no solo movie before this. And there was no opportunity to establish the Reverse Flash as his nemesis, making potential appearance here feel random and unceremonious. But they needed someone besides Barry to be the bad guy. Now, I did hear to put a highlight on the Reverse Flash. I did hear that if the movie was going to have a sequel, which I kind of doubt with how the box office is performing, that they were planning to bring in the Reverse Flash. So, like, they could have went back to that scene where Henry Allen tells Barry to run, and actually show how, like, the Reverse Flash came into the Allen house and stabbed Nora Allen. That could have, like, Flash 2 could have did that. Sure, it would have been nice to see it in this movie, but the fact that I think they were planning to make a Flash 2 and have Reverse Flash be the villain, that was so cool to see. Sad and depressing, but decent to see, like, cool to see, because, like, how many times have we seen Barry Allen's backstory done in live action? Essentially, twice, right? Or 3 times, because the 90s Flash show, the Arrowverse Flash show, and when Barry had took the other Barry to, like, whatever lab to get his powers in the movie. 3 times. So we could have, like, yeah, what could have been, right? Anyways, more Batman and Supergirl, and I did hear, like, I think we were going to get a Supergirl movie with Sasha Calle if this movie was successful, and I've heard rumors that if the Flash was successful, we would have gotten Batman Beyond with Michael Keaton. But in this movie, it would be nice to get a bit more Supergirl and Batman for sure. Anyways, Michael Keaton's Batman is the best part of the Flash, and it's not even close. He steps back into the role like he never left it, remembering every facet of the Batman he and Tim Burton created. His initial appearance as recluse, spending his days skulking around Wayne Manor, works because it gives us a Batman who's been triumphant. He won his war on crime, and Gotham City is now safe, no longer needing a Batman because it thrives in the shadows. But Batman is still in him, and though he declines Barry's plea for help at first, the picture of his parents stirs memories of why he started his Cape Crusade. The memories of his parents light the spark in him again, and he shows up as Batman. The Danny Elfman's theme blaring in majestic force. His delivery as "I'm Batman" is great because it's not just for Barry's benefit. He's reminding himself too. And when he jumps into action, he's Batman again. So badass that both versions of the Flash learn quickly to stay out of his way. But the most perfect amount of the film is when Bruce is stitching up his wound on his arm and he looks at himself in the mirror and grins. This is invoking his introduction in Batman Returns when he comes to life as the bat signal shines on him. Once again, Bruce Wayne is alive because once more, he's Batman. Now, it would have been great. Like, I'm happy they liked though, like him skulking around Wayne Manor, but I didn't. I feel I'm in the camp where like if Bruce Wayne, like if Gotham was safe, that Bruce Wayne would have like tended to Wayne Manor. I don't think Bruce Wayne would have allowed himself to become a hermit. In my opinion. Anyways. Supergirl also has a good arc. I'll bet one shown is broad strokes. Unlike Batman, she has no history as a superhero. Since arriving on Earth, Supergirl has been locked in a secret Russian prison and experimented on by the Russian military, chained up and kept away from the sunlight that would give her her powers of God. When Barry and Batman rescue her, she's an emancipated husk of a girl, unable to even walk on her own, let alone leap tall buildings or bend steel with her bare hands. Her eventual exposure to the sun allows her to reach her potential, and she easily dispatches the Russians who held her captive with a fraction of her full strength. But she's just also jaded, and when Barry asks her to help him with Zod, she's not interested. Why should she defy her own race to save the people who imprisoned and tortured her? But observing Zod in action teaches her that not all Kryptonians are good, and remembering that Barry saved her that when he didn't have to makes her realize that not all humans are bad. And she decides to help because the hero she refused to be, but that's her new home. But becoming the hero she refused to be, but that her new home needs. There we go. I can English, agreed. As great as these two subplots are, the Flash would have benefited from giving them more screen time. Supergirl's arc doesn't have enough time to breathe. Seeing her come to her realization more gradually would have made her eventual turn to good more satisfying. It would have allowed the movie to tie her arc into Barry's story, with her learning to put others before herself and her family, as Barry eventually learns he must do. With her limited presence in the film, Supergirl feels like a plot device despite the good intentions with her arc and Sasha Calle's strong performance. Batman's arc fares better because he's around more than Supergirl is. But the movie desperately needs someone other than Ezra Miller as to focus on in this first half. That was an excruciating hour, and Miller is not a good enough actor to carry himself, especially when he's trying and failing miserably to be likable and funny. Some of this time could have been used to show Bruce Wayne adapting to his return as Batman. Maybe as Barry and Supergirl gets some rest or prepare for battle, Batman stalks the rooftops of Gotham searching for a criminal to pound on into dust, or somewhere else because Gotham has no crime anymore. Man, having that scene in the movie would have been cool, because it would have given us Batman before Batman in the field before Batman was in the field per se, if that makes sense. So I'm in total agreement with that. And like Supergirl, he could have tied into Barry's arc better. Perhaps by realizing that the strategy that created him was necessary for the world in the same way Barry does. But returning to the earlier point, if there was a real villain, the climax could have Batman and Supergirl helping the Flash fight him, realizing that true battle is within him. Realizing that true battle is within, not outside, which also makes Zod's limited presence more palatable. And they should have gone with one of the early endings featuring these two. The story behind how the George Clooney nonsense happened has really scored me on James Gunn and Peter Safran's running the DC studios. If everyone involved had put some more thought and care into the movie, The Flash could have been great. It stems from excellent source material, and there are rich ideas and themes at its heart. But despite the film being almost a decade in the making, it feels like an afternoon thought, like it was thrown together by people who just wanted to get anything out of the theaters as quickly as possible. It should have been an epic story of hero rising, falling, and rising again. The limits of power, the honor found in sacrifice, the heroism that comes from realizing that the humanities in others, and the fact that Batman is awesome. Instead, it's another misfire in the disaster of the DCEU, but it's being nullified soon. So I guess we shouldn't worry about it too much. And I agree. The Flash could have been better. I get their points too, and I agree with some of their good parts of their points. But like I said earlier in the video, The Flash wasn't the best nor the worst movie I've seen. There are areas that they could improve on. I think there was a few areas where it was really strong, like Barry saying goodbye to his mother. Sure, that part would have been more powerful if the movie was a bit more serious. But I think that scene alone, when Barry is essentially saying goodbye to his mother, was pretty powerful for Barry, especially with Ezra Miller's acting, which is potentially the best in that scene. But it's sad that we aren't going to get a Flash 2, because as I stated before, Flash 2, we were supposedly going to get the reverse Flash. So since we've seen the reverse Flash on the small screen, it would been great. It would be great to see the reverse Flash on the big screen. And hopefully by the time we return to the Flash again, whether it's the Ezra Miller Flash or someone else playing the Flash, we will get the reverse Flash. Because I would love to see a movie where Barry Allen has to beat Eobard Thawne. I would have loved to have seen that. With that said, what do you beautiful people have to say? Let me know in the comment section down below. Love you guys. Have a wonderful day. Be kind to one another. And I'm so sorry for the long ass video. I'll catch you guys later.